Reynolds with Rocky Mountain Lodge, and today I'm really excited to share with you one of my family's favorite appetizers. Last week we made jalapeno poppers, which are a favorite that they do, and this week we are going to be making buffalo wings. My husband is super picky about his wings. He's only found one other place besides my wings where he likes their buffalo wings. And the trick is to have nice and crispy buffalo wings with a nice spicy sauce on them. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. There's a couple little tricks and we will get to that right away. First I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you in just a second. I have it moved over here. Be right back. All right, I do have this recipe on our website, RockyMountainLodge.com. It is also in my cookbook here, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabin's More Favorite Recipes. This is version 2 of my cookbook. You can get this on our website, RockyMountainLodge.com. Click on the gift shop tab and you can purchase this recipe, this cookbook from there. There are 500 recipes in this cookbook, and it also comes with a free ebook version. And if you enter the promo code Facebook Cooking, you can take $5 off. So go ahead and check our website for that recipe there. And it's also on our website. So the first thing we're going to do with these buffalo wings is we have to get them prepped and ready. And so I have here 20 chicken wings, and they are multiple parts. There's the little wing part and then the little thigh part. Not really a thigh, but the leg part. They sometimes come together like this, and then you just kind of have to cut them apart with a knife. I like to get them when they're already split apart just because it makes it a little easier. Make sure you always wash your hands when you're handling chicken. There are a couple of different, what we're going to want to do now is I have already rinsed these chicken wings here. Not everybody likes to rinse their wings. There's a little bit of a debate about that, but I will rinse my wings after they're thawed because they sometimes get this extra little chicken juice in them, and I usually like to rinse that off. I've already rinsed these, but then they've been in the fridge again for another hour, and so they built up a little more. If you do rinse your chicken legs or any type of chicken when you're working with chicken, you just want to make sure you always wash your hands with soap and water, and then you're also going to want to wash your sink. People are kind of divided about that. Sometimes they don't like to rinse them because they don't want to get their sink with chicken stuff on it. I'm just under the opinion personally that I like to rinse them. So that's what I do. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to pat dry our chicken wings. So rinsing, as I mentioned before, is optional. And now I'm going to just pat these dry. And the reason why I'm going to make sure that these are all patted dry is so that the coating that we're going to put on them will stick to them. So it will help them stick. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to make the coating that we're going to put on here, the little breading, and that is going to help them get nice and crispy when we fry them. All right, so for my breading, what I'm going to do is I have here 1 cup of flour, just all-purpose flour. You don't have to sift it or anything, just 1 cup of flour there. And then we have a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and then a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Just those few ingredients are going to make our breading for this. I'm just going to whisk this all together right here. And then I'm going to add our chicken that we have patted dry. Washing it is optional, whatever you prefer on that. So I'm just going to put this in here. And then I'm going to just toss these. I do have clean hands. You can use tongs if you prefer. I just find that it goes a little bit better and easier, and I can make sure everything is coated when I use my hands. And then once we get all of these coated, we are going to put this in the refrigerator for at least 1 hour, just to allow that breading to really stick to those wings. And this is what's going to help make them nice and crispy when we cook them. So I'll put these in the refrigerator uncovered for about an hour or more. You just want to make sure that you can stir it every so often. If you're just doing it for an hour, you can even do them overnight, up to overnight. Just cover them with a towel, a kitchen towel, leave them in the fridge. I don't like to do them too long because then they'll start sticking together. The moisture from the chicken will kind of make that breading a little bit goopy. So I just put them in the refrigerator for an hour or two, and that will help those. I'm going to wash my hands again. You just always have to wash your hands a lot when you're handling chicken. I think we all know that rule. About always washing everything when you're handling raw chicken. All right, so these will end up going in the refrigerator for an hour or so. And now I have some that I have had in the refrigerator for a little over an hour. And so you can kind of see what they're like. So this is just a small batch that I'm doing right here just to show you. And so while that is, I'm going to set that aside for 1 minute, and then I'm going to show you how to make the wing sauce. So for our wing sauce, you're going to start with a half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick of butter. I like to use unsalted butter, but you can really use any kind of butter. Salted, unsalted, I just prefer unsalted. Then you're going to use a half a cup of hot sauce. There's a couple of different debates about different types of hot sauce and wing sauce that you can use. This particular sauce is Frank's original hot sauce. He makes buffalo sauce. There's also Louisiana hot sauce, which is actually the one that I like to use. But my daughter, who lives next door, they like this one. And so I like to have this one on hand because we like to borrow stuff from each other all the time. So I will have hers on hand. So that way I've got enough for her. But they're all good. So either Frank's hot sauce, Louisiana hot sauce, any of those are good. And if you don't like hot sauce, I'll talk to you later on about different variations of what you can use. This is 1/8 of a teaspoon of just cracked pepper and 1/8 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. So this is all the ingredients we're going to need for our hot sauce. I'm going to go ahead and put these on the stove to warm while we're cooking our wings. I will often make this ahead of time and just keep it warm. I'll put it in the refrigerator ahead of time and then just put it back on the refrigerator to keep it warm. But I actually already made some a little bit earlier. The butter is kind of set. We'll be using this here in just a little bit, but I'm just going to warm this one back up. That's already done. Like I said, I made a small batch ahead of time just for time's sake. And so now I am going to take my wings that we have ready. Move these out of the way. And I have a deep fryer, and I have this preheated to 375 degrees. If you don't have a deep fryer, you can also just use a Dutch oven, a cast iron skillet, a big old pot. You just want to make sure you have plenty of oil in there, and make sure your oil is plenty hot. This is the deal breaker about having crispy wings. Your oil has to be hot. And I'll show you that we don't want to crowd the pan because that will drop the oil temperature down too much. And so if you don't have a deep fryer that has a thermometer on it, you can just use a candy thermometer to stick in there and make sure in your pot, make sure that your oil temperature is hot. Make sure it's at 375 when you put your wings in. You can also use an infrared thermometer. You can just point this in your oil and it will tell you the degrees. All right, that is plenty hot. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to fry our wings. The trick to frying your wings is, number one, making sure your oil is hot enough, and number two, you don't want to crowd your pan. If your pan is crowded, the oil is going to drop too quickly, and then you will have soggy, greasy wings, which is not what we're after. We're after that crispiness. So I'm going to go ahead and just put half of these in there right now. I normally do about 6 at a time. I've got 5 right here. I mean, I've got 10 right here, so I'm just going to cook 5, and we're going to do half of them right now. And then I'll do the other half when those are done. And they take about 10 to 15 minutes to cook. So while this is cooking, I will tell you a couple other things that if you don't like hot and spicy wings, you can also make barbecue wings. Instead of this sauce that I'm making here, just use any kind of barbecue sauce that you like. I do have a great recipe for some homemade barbecue sauce on my website as well, on my recipes page. And I also, well actually I don't have it. I do have the barbecue sauce there, but I don't have, another version would be to make sweet and spicy ribs. So you can take some of this sauce and add some honey to it, and then it's kind of sweet and spicy by just adding some honey to it. That's another great way to do it. If you just want honey sauce, you can do butter, but instead of the peppers, and instead of this, just use butter and honey, and then you'll have honey butter for your wings. So that's another great thing to do there for those. And I know I said these take a little bit to cook, so they're just frying. You can see that there's room for them to all swim around in there without getting too crowded. That way your oil temperature is not going to drop. So we'll just let those cook for a little bit. I usually set the timer on my stove or on my watch while they're cooking and come back and check on them after about 10 minutes. So right now we're going to go over here again and look at this sauce. Let's see, it's starting to, the butter is starting to melt. And so you can see here we got the sauce and the butter, and that's going there. And I will have this one over here. Now it just might separate while you're working your sauce, and that's okay if it separates it. Just stir it. So I'll just leave that there. Stir this one up a little bit for the second round that we're going to be doing a little later on. But these are for our first batch here. Now while we're waiting on these to cook, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're going to be cooking next week. So next week we are going to be making, drum roll, I had a little poll out on my Facebook page this last week for creme brulee or cheesecake, wanting to know what people want to see on my next cooking video. And creme brulee beat out cheesecake by about 2 to 1. But don't worry, cheesecake fans, we'll be back and we'll make more cheesecakes at another time in the future. I've actually got quite a lot of cheesecake recipes that I make. They're one of my family's favorites that they like to have me make at holiday times. And so I'll do another poll on some cheesecakes, and we'll see which cheesecake recipes y'all want me to make first. So but come back next week at 2 o'clock, Wednesday, January 27th at 2 o'clock Mountain Time, and we'll be making some creme brulee. I'll have my creme brulee recipe on the website. I make lots of different types of creme brulee. I'll make pumpkin creme brulee, a Kahlua espresso creme brulee, a chocolate creme brulee, and a vanilla bean creme brulee. Next week we're just going to be making a vanilla creme brulee, so that way you guys can see just the basics. We'll start there and then we'll move on from there. Let's see how our wings are doing. They're getting a little bit more golden. We want them definitely to be cooked all the way through, so we're going to wait on that. Now while those are cooking, a couple other things that you can serve with these are some celery and ranch dressing or blue cheese dressing. I didn't have any blue cheese on hand, so I just have ranch dressing for today, and then we'll put our wings on here, and then we'll enjoy these. They're great for any Super Bowl party, New Year's Eve party, New Year's Day party. Anytime you're having a party, your wings are going to be gone in a flash. And one other thing I'll tell you too about wings. If you want to make a whole bunch at a time, make them and get them all fried up, and then put them in your oven and keep them warm at about 250 degrees before you put your sauce on them. If you put your sauce on them and then put them in the oven, the meat, the chicken wings, the breading will absorb the sauce, and then they won't be nice and saucy and crispy anymore. So just make sure that you can put them in the oven for a while, and then wait to put the sauce on until you're going to serve them. I tend to just do small amounts at a time. I bring them out in half-dozen portions. Everybody will have 1 or 2 at a time. I do take a long time to make them because I just want them to stay crispy and not get soggy by overcrowding the pan and having them dry out too fast. So while those I think should be done soon. So now I'm going to grab our sauce. So I'm going to take a big old pan here because we're going to toss these in this sauce. And like I said, it can separate a little bit. Don't worry about that. We're just going to stir it all up here. It's going to all get coated just fine when we toss them all around. So there's our buffalo sauce. Too bad you can't smell it. It smells kind of spicy in here right now. Get that out of the way. And I'm going to check these. I think these have been going for a little bit. Those look pretty good. I think those are just about right. So now what I'm going to do is, now with my deep fryer, I could just hang them right here and let them drain off. But I want to get another batch started. So I'm just going to take these off and drain them right here on this cookie sheet. Make sure that my oven, or my oil is up to temp here. I just have another second or two for it to get up to temp, I think. And let me check that oil temperature and see what it is. Alright, yep, that's pretty hot. That's because we only did a few at a time. But you want to make sure your oil gets back up to temperature in between every batch of wings that you do. So now I'll put the rest of my wings in there. And let these cook. I like this deep fryer because it has a filtration system on it. So that way, it's got a little sieve on the bottom of this. I know you can't see it in here, but down on the bottom, there's a little sieve. You can't see it right now. There's a sieve at the bottom, and it will strain into this pan down here, and then it will filter out all of the little gooky stuff that's on there, and then make your oil clean again so that you can reuse it. And I'll usually use my oil, depending on what I'm cooking, 2 or 3 times. If I'm cooking fish, I usually don't reuse my oil because I don't want everything to taste like fish. So now that our wings are done and they're nice and crispy, I don't know if you can hear that crisp on there. We're going to dunk them in our sauce. And then we are just going to toss these until they're all coated. Toss. You can flip them around with a spatula too, but this is more fun. Alright, so now you can see that they're nice and saucy and they're still crispy, and then you can just serve them up just like this with your ranch dressing and some celery and or blue cheese dressing, and there you have it. Nice and easy and ready to eat. Everybody will think you are the best. And these are great wings. You make these and everybody will be impressed. You just have to be patient because it takes a little time to cook them when you only cook a small amount at a time. But that's what will keep them crispy. And so come on back next week and we'll make some creme brulee. In the meantime, you can find this recipe at our website, RockyMountainLodge.com, and click on our recipes tab. And you can also get them in our cookbook, Rocky Mountain Lodge and Cabin's More Favorite Recipes, on our gift shop tab. Enter promo code Facebook Cooking and take $5 off. All right, everybody, it's been great to see you guys today and teach you one of our favorite little appetizers here. So come on back next week and we'll make a yummy dessert. See y'all next week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.